Hey everyone. Today I'm joined by Donato Giorgio. Donato is currently President Global Supply Chain with Essity, with responsibility for a huge supply chain and manufacturing footprint spread across the world. Donato, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much, Sam. Honor to be here with you.
I guess a good starting place. Could you just tell me a little bit about yourself and your career journey so far?
Yeah. I'm Italian, and I started working in Procter& and Gamble in Italy in an acquisition that P&G did for a small tissue European company. I started as process engineer, one of the most exciting work I did, maybe the most exciting. And then after a relatively small period, I went to US. I had really the privilege and the opportunity to work in the two biggest plants of Procter& and Gamble at that time in US, Albany, Georgia, and Maplewood, Pennsylvania, with, let's say, kind of a training and formation program for future managers. And I have to say, that experience has been a really big mark for my career because I learned from the beginning the importance of continuous learning, and I learned from the beginning really best practices. And it is something that now, when I became president, I really replicated in my company to give opportunity to future managers to have a unique learning experience from the beginning. So I did my experience in US, and I went back in Italy, and I did all work in converting, paper making, manufacturing, technology, safety, which has been a very important part for my formation, logistic and supply chain, and then I moved to Germany in tissue. And then Procter& and Gamble decided to sell the tissue European part to SCA company, and I stayed in Procter& and Gamble, and I moved in the Vella acquisition, the acquisition into Vella, and I worked there as operation leader for all the Vella biggest operation, which has been very interesting because at that time was perfume production, high level shampoo, and all kind of hairspray. So, and this gave me in my career a big the ability to see two complete different supply chain. Because if you take tissue, is a very COGS heavy oriented manufacturing type of production, and if you take beauty care, is completely the opposite. I remember one of my bosses at the time that brought me in the beauty care told me, tissue is manufacturing with a little bit of marketing. Beauty care is marketing with a little bit of manufacturing. And it's a completely interesting experience because the complexity of the supply chain that you have in beauty care is extremely high with the agility that you need to have. So also one tip that I give to all the people that want to develop in supply chain is make sure that you see different type of industries, different type of production, because it will help you in connecting many dots and make you a holistic and complete manager. Actually, briefly at the beginning of my career, where I started in Iveco, but I was there for months, and then I moved to Procter& and Gamble for this offer on the learning that they made me, and also to having seen also a bit of the automotive industry. It's also something that stayed as a very good learning experience for me. And then I worked more or less a bit less than 2 years in Vella, and then I moved to SCA to with the ambition and with the mission and with the challenge to bring this company to a next level. And I remember the person that hired me was William Ledger, was vice president of for supply chain in tissue at the time. He told me, "Hey Donato, we are in this company. We are a big ambition to make something great of this company. Just join the team and make something cool." And actually, I've been now 16 years in SCA that now became SCT because we made the split of the company, but this absolute continuity, and has been a fantastic, exciting, amazing journey where we really, and this is one of the most exciting part of the job of supply chain leader, when after 16 years you can look backward and see how many transformation has been done in all the areas of the end-to-end, starting with safety and then to people capability, leadership styles, and possibility and development of many leaders and many operators also. So it's been really a very exciting experience. And so coming in SCA, I started as a manufacturing director for 4 tissue plants. Then after 18 months, I was promoted as a vice president for personal care in Europe for all the European plants in personal care. And at that time, I was one of the first managers moving from tissue to personal care. Now it's absolutely normal, but at that time, the company was very siloed. Now we change continuously, but this was one of the first change. And then after that, I became president of Global Tissue, and then tissue and personal care globally. And now, step by step, we have created with the executive management team, finally, for the first time in this company, and truly end-to-end global supply chain, from procurement, manufacturing, engineering, supply chain with planning, customer service, and logistic operations. So this is really, at the moment, this is the spider in the web of the company to really enable the company and the business unit to succeed, to be successful in the market. So
Amazing.
quite exciting journey.
No, fantastic. Thank you very much. And obviously, throughout that journey, could you tell me a little bit about some of the advice that was most formative to yourself throughout your career?
Yeah, I said if I would pass to all the friends and colleagues listening to this podcast, I would say just two, and for me are very important. Number one, every time you choose a job, an assignment, a location, choose a place where you can learn from your boss. You can learn from your peers and you can learn from your own team. So continuous learning. It does not matter if you are process engineer or if you are president, is a very, for me, important criteria, has been always the important criteria to choose a job. And I have to say, I am in this quite a big position with 20,000 people, many plants, 8 billion euro COGS. Not because of anything special of me, but I had the honor, I had the fortune, the privilege to work with many peoples around the world that were really masters in what they were doing, and I learned a lot for the people I work with. This point number one. Point number two is I always say when I do management speeches, it's something I read in the primary school of my second child. So it's not from a management book, but I always saw it is really true. Pick up a job that you like, and you will never have to work in your life. It means do something where you put your passion, something where you wake up in the morning and you are happy to go and work. And again, it does not matter if that job is a process engineer, line leader, a key account manager for a customer, or president of the CEO. It does not matter. It has to be something you like, you feel fulfilled, and then you will be successful and develop. These are for me the two key advice I really would like to pass to all the people.
No, amazing. I think people sometimes get so caught up in ambition and wanting to progress and getting a bigger title that sometimes it's easy to forget that if you enjoy what you do, the job becomes a lot easier. And generally speaking, the people I talk to who enjoy what they do tend to be the ones that progress the fastest, because they want to go to work. They want to continue to learn and push themselves. So yeah, I think it's important to think about that sometimes.
In my opinion, in my experience, moving for the title, moving for the promotion, moving in a tactical way for the career without having your heart pumping or pulsing for what you are moving to can be a very fatal mistake.
Yeah.
Because can put you in a dead corner. If you move in something you have the passion, you will find a way to be successful and boost on.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely. No, I think you're completely right. Look, Donato, we know supply chain is changing a
yeah.
lot at the moment, as are the roles within the supply chain. What advice would you give to someone, and what skills do you think that these people should be developing to be the supply chain leaders of the future?
Yeah, the supply chain is changing a lot. I have to say, I mean, people really say change, but I see in the last 5 years, it's really a big revolution. And I mean, with the digitalization, artificial intelligence in manufacturing, automation, the complete new technique that you have in managing the supply chain, really the processes and the logistic, the importance of the logistic, the agility, and also the new world, the new reality that we live since 2020, because I think there is a world until 2020 and a world after 2020 for our generation, because you have the COVID war, supply chain disruption, hyperinflation, and all these things. So you need different skills. And what I see, it's a big difference, and the skill to learn is the the importance of data management, the importance of being able to use the data through the new systems. So this artificial intelligence, this new way of managing supply chain, the smart apps, and all these things. In my company, we have created in Barcelona a very advanced control tower, smart hub, where we manage demand planning, supply planning, and transport globally. And I am always super amazed every time I go there, I walk through the floor and I speak with the people, because I meet, we have a fantastic young talents, and I stop with a person. I say, "Hey, what's your name?" My name. It's tell me about you, and then these people she tell me, you know what? I'm 26. I have a bachelor in philosophy, a master in mathematics, and I work in this company, this company, this company, and mainly I am a data analyst. I said, wow. I said, I'm 52. I worked in only two companies and out with Iveco, and I'm not a data analyst. And if you compare these profiles with the typical logistic manager or with the typical planner that I had in mind when I grew up in plants, or when I also did the logistic job, is completely different type of skills. It is really, everyone needs to become data analyst, but in the part of the supply chain is much more. There is one thing that has not changed, and I tell to everyone that loves supply chain, particularly manufacturing and logistic operations, that stays and has to stay more. Passion for people, human touch, empathy. I tell to all the managers that we do this training, this TPM training and onboarding training for the manager, I always attend the beginning and the end for half an hour. And I tell to all the people, if you do not have passion for people, if walking through the floor and talking with the operator and talking about their family, the football game, and the normal life with them does not give you happiness, satisfaction, and fulfillment. Please don't do this job. It's not your job. People that has to work in manufacturing supply chain has to have people that love to help other, to develop other, and to support others. Then you need, of course, to have all the advanced data management to understand how to support other in a better way. But a big mistake I've seen before when I was in Procter and Gamble, developing a wrong generation of management, and I see now the risk a lot is that some of young engineers they grew thinking that you can manage operation by your computer, by your phone, by the digital system. No, you can't. That is an super important system, but you must have the contact with the human being, with the people. You must understand that everything you are doing there is to help the operators to be successful in their job. And to do that, you need to have the human touch, the empathy for that. And unfortunately, the digital systems are helping a lot in data management, but are in some ways destroying the empathy. Please make sure that you work on your empathy, because your empathy, without empathy, you don't go anywhere. That's my humble view from Donato from you.
No, I think it's a brilliant way of looking at it. And I think we get caught up in talking about all these systems, AI, machine learning, all these things going on. But I love what you said, that at the end of the day, the job is to help the operators to be able to do the best that they can. And all these systems cannot replace the human element. They can aid in all these other things, but sometimes it is easy to get caught up in all the chat about all these other things and forget that supply chain is usually the majority of the people within a company. And to be a supply chain leader, you need to be a people leader. And I think sometimes it's really important to circle back and just think about
I think if I can add, never like today, the importance of a proper application of TPM. It's stepping up. I see many managers making, in my humble opinion, a huge mistake in thinking that digitalization bypassed the TPM. And you don't go anywhere with that way. You need to have a very solid TPM base, and then you leverage with the digitalization, and then you become unbeatable. So the base concept of create a standard, run to standard, and continuously improve the standard in your daily operation. Total employee involvement, which are the two key concepts of TPM, are more important than ever today. And then you put everything together with digitalization. One image I always give about how I would like to see factories run in the day of digitalizations is I always put the picture of a pilots, airplane pilots in modern airplanes that we know are all computer and things. And I put this picture of these two people and say, I want in my factories to be run like this. Why? Number one, these people have safety in mind in everything they do. There is no compromise, and they are not stressed. If safety is not okay, the other thing does not come in a very clear way. Number two, they are super, super trained in all the system they use, in all the techniques, in the process of the airplane. They are digitally enabled, and they use all the digital tools, but still being able to understand what's behind the digital algorithms and the things. And last but not least, I would say most important, this is how I choose this picture, they are proud of their job. they feel proud, they feel valued, they feel they are doing something for other people, transporting people to families. And we have to make everyone working in supply chain proud of their job, because we produce goods for the world. And the COVID has been a bad moment for the humanity, but at least has demonstrated the importance of supply chain. I mean, we can have the digitalization and the apps of all the world, but if there is people are not producing and shipping and delivering, the humanity stop. I mean, we are one of our big products is toilet paper. We are among the biggest in the world in toilet paper, and people became crazy in COVID for toilet paper. I don't understand why, because we always deliver at it, but that's a different story.
No, brilliant. I love that analogy about the pilot as well. I think that's a really interesting way of looking at it in quite an accurate way. Donato, in terms of someone that was just graduating, they're about to go into their career in supply chain, they're very ambitious. What would your number one top piece of advice for that young person who wants to be a chief supply chain officer one day be?
I repeat, pick up the job you like and you will never have to work, and you will naturally arrive to the C level. If you don't like it, if you don't put your heart on that, if you don't have empathy for that, you will not make it. It does not matter the brain you put on it.
Yeah. And on the other side of the coin, what advice would you give to someone who is maybe a senior vice president? They're one step away from that board seat. What would you say to that person for them to prepare themselves and get to that final level of chief supply chain officer?
For that, for me, very, very important is get an holistic view of the business. Don't get stuck in the manufacturing, logistic, and supply chain thing. At the end, a C-suite person for supply chain is a business leader, and is there to and particularly supply chain is becoming more and more an enabler for growth, for innovation, and for business development. So we need people who can really think with the mind of the business leader in order to really deliver what is needed to win on the business. A lot of time, people from supply chain, they get stuck in their function. They think that supply chain is the only one working in the company. Is important. It's very important, but it's not all. I mean, very important. I remember in my Procter & Gamble time, the CEO had always said in the company, the two moments of truth: when the consumer buy our product and when the consumer use our product and like it, and then he has the intention to rebuy it. And in whatever type of supply chain we work, I mean, from consumer to automotive to pharmaceutical, we have the moment of truth that you need to sell the product and make this product useful for whatever B2C or B2B user you have. So really truly become an end-to-end leader. And this will also, I mean, I discussed with many people at Dante, but also a lot of my colleagues, that we see that not too many supply chain officers become CEO. Normally, the typical development to CEO is business unit leader or CFO, but typical business unit leader. And this is because we need to create the professional supply chain leader more seen as a business leader. And then as a supply chain leader that has a proper mindset as a business leader is more equipped to become a CEO than many other functions. Maybe one experience to do is do an experience as a regional director for sales, country manager, and then go back in supply chain.
I've spoken with a few companies recently, actually, where they are looking for senior executives, senior vice presidents for a region, whatever it might be. And part of their requirements sometimes are if they have been a sales director for 2 to 3 years, or they've owned a P&L for 2 to 3 years in a region, that can help accelerate careers very quickly. It can be a hard pivot to make, but it's not an uncommon journey. And I think when you look at some of the CEOs that have made it from a supply chain background, they have also done that. And yeah, I think that's a really interesting way of looking at things. And when the opportunity presents itself, can be pretty good for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, look, Donato, thank you so much for joining me. Some brilliant advice in there. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Very welcome, Sam, and thank you for the invitation.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.